Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Allen, and welcome back to the Whatta podcast. I'm so sorry if you can hear those fans whirring. It's my PlayStation downloading a game. I don't understand why it's so loud. I really don't, but here we are, and it's gonna be like that. I think the whole time. Um, if you saw the title of this podcast and you can hear my voice, then you can tell that I'm tired. Um, and that is because I am, as of recording this, in the last like 10 hours of the 48-hour film fest thing. I don't know the proper name for it over here. Actually, I just know that I'm pretty certain everyone refers to it as the fort. I think it's just 48-hour films. Some people say 48-hour film fest. It's got a bunch of different titles. For those that don't know what that is, or they've put it together and just want the clarification anyways, um, I don't know how other groups and areas and things do it. This one is run by the I believe MCM, which is a RSO, which is a registered student organization, otherwise known as a club. I don't know why they don't want them to be called clubs. Why they've given it such a fancy name at this college. But that's what it is. And essentially, at 7 p.m. on Friday, everyone is divvied out at random into groups, and then they are given a genre, a character name, and a prop. And they have to incorporate all of those things into a script that is written, shot, and edited within the remaining 48 hours and turned back in by 7 p.m. on Sunday. So we're not done. We are meeting up, for me in recording, we're meeting up in about an hour to go finish up. So we would have finished by the time you guys get to hear this. But I'm exhausted. I've been up like all day. We started our day, we were supposed to meet at 10 at one location, and then everyone showed up late except for me, which made me super uncomfy. I won't deny that. And I'm sure if any of them listen to this, they might feel a little bad. But I don't mean to make you guys feel bad. I'm just being honest. It's really odd to sit in a restaurant waiting for six other people to show up for like 15, 20 minutes, which doesn't feel like a long time until you have to sit there. Because you're in a restaurant that does not seat you unless your whole party is here, if it's a large party. So we met up, we started filming. I'm not going to give any details yet because some of it's incredibly funny, and I know that AJ, the gentleman who wrote it, love AJ, great dude. Can't wait to start D&D tomorrow, as in Tuesday when after this comes out, with him as the DM. But he wants to keep some stuff secret because it's funnier that way, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So all I'm gonna say is that we met up, we refined the script, we created a shot list, really good shot list. We have some really cool shots. Again, can't tell anyone. Got to keep it hush hush. You know, feel like I'm under a non what is it? A non-verbal NDA, non-written NDA, just an implied NDA almost of keeping it just hidden. And we met back up like 3-4 ish, and then we filmed until about nearly 1 ish, which is like 1 a.m. And we're supposed to be back up. And I've never participated in the 48 hours because I'm a sleepy man, and I think I missed it the first time. I think because I always need advancement on when people want me for things. I'm not good at the whole let me just be there in case you need me thing. Let me just show up because that makes me feel weird. And then especially if I end up not being needed in any fashion, because then I'm like, well, now I feel useless. So I've had people be like, you come to 48 hours before? And I'm like, when is it? And they'll be like, oh, well, they're passing out in like an hour. And I was like, no, I'm streaming. Is what it became in like the second year. But this year, I was like, you know what? This is my last semester. I haven't done much film stuff outside of what I've been doing in my classes. I was like, let me take this opportunity to get together with a group of people I don't know, uh, see what we can create. And as much as I know everyone in it is exhausted and wants it to end, it's fun. We're having a good time. I know we are. We're enjoying ourselves. No one. It's not like anyone feels like they're gonna just hate the world. It's some fun stuff. Um, and yeah, it's interesting because most people, especially like filmmakers, they really do want the time to like be able to sit back and like formulate everything. What was I saying? Formulate everything. Like they want to formulate their thoughts. They want to formulate their ideas. They want to refine the script. You know, some people want to send their script through like 4 different people for pass through to make notes, and then send it back through the 4 people with the notes to be like, hey, these changes have been made. How do you feel about it? You know, you want to write out a detailed schedule. You get all the actors' conflicts down. Figure out, okay, we can film this here, here, here. If costumes are going to get messed up in some fashion, you figure out, okay, this needs to be filmed later, this needs to be filmed first, stuff like that. You figure out your equipment, you're going to figure out locations, you're going to get, like, permission for stuff, like, all that fun stuff that is incredibly boring and tedious. And I've done it so many times that it just starts to melt the brain, which is why I'm kind of glad that the script project I've been asked to write for is animated, because I would never want to try and get the permissions for that. But the beauty of having such a time constraint to get everything done is just that all it is you don't have the opportunity to think, wait, what if? Can't do that. There's no time for that. And there's a couple people in this particular group that present a lot of what ifs, a lot of can'ts, and you don't really have the time for that. Is the thing when you only have 48 hours to write, film, edit, export a project. You don't have the time to say this can't be done. You don't have the time to say, what if we did this? You just have to do it, which I find highly fascinating, because you never know what's going to come out of someone's head when you hit a moment where you just have to do it, until you're there. seeing like the workaround for some stuff, like how the things that they have done and we've created, and seeing how it's going, and just knowing that, like, yeah, this is the thing. This is the thing we're gonna do. It's just been a lot of fun. We've had a few bumps, a few blips. We've got some minor stuff to finish up, which is why we're meeting back up. But other than that, it's going pretty solidly. And yeah, I'm excited for the final product. It's not something I can go show my mom. That's for certain. But it is just, I find it highly fascinating to just be able to sit there and kind of think, like, this is what happens when you take creative minds and you force them into this space where there are no questions, there is just doing. And I think obviously there are things like this for, like, other mediums, like I believe there's game jams, yeah, right? Yeah, okay. So there's, like, game jams. That's the one for video games, where people work either independently, they're in groups, and they have usually some form of time limit. Sometimes they get, like, up to a week. Sometimes they only get, like, a day, and they have to try and create something from just scratch, which I think is insane. But you get some crazy games made out of it, depending on the ingenuity of the people. Some board games have been a part of game jams and things. Uh, Here. Oh, let's see. What does that say? I want to know what games have come from game jams, because I know there are a couple, but I can't think of any of them off the top of my head. And I don't know if I'm going to find a list. Game jamming games. Right. Okay. I was like, there's some that are really big that I'm just blanking on. Super Hot. Uh, that game started from a game jam game. And once the game jam is over, you're free and welcome to expand on your idea. And the same with a 48-hour film fest. If you think that you've created something that deserves a bigger world, you're fully welcome to do that. And sometimes great things come from it. So like for game jams, you had stuff that like Super Hot that has exploded. It started on PC and then it moved to consoles and then it moved to VR. Like it's just been everywhere. People love it. I don't think there have been any updates for it recently, so I don't know what else like might be happening with it. But like that's one big one. Goat Simulator that is now on its third full game, which is kind of crazy to think about. Because I don't know, I know Goat Simulator. I would never play it. It's not the type of humor for me. It's not my thing, but I can see it in my head. I can imagine like, yeah, okay, this seems like it makes sense, Oh, I found a whole list of them. I kind of want to look at them real quick. Let's see what people under crunch let's see what people under healthy crunch can do. And I say that because there's a very big difference between we know what we're getting ourselves into crunch of doing a jam and the crunch of of working in a big company that makes you crunch. Oh, I don't know any of these ones. Then again, I haven't been paying attention to game jams like recently. I've been paying attention to a lot recently, which just kind of goes to show that I think I'm either very tired or very heavily plated. Like there's too much on my plate. For example, while I wait for this list to load because the internet is wonky down here for devices not hardwired, I've been listening to the Vox Critical Role podcast. So Vox Machina. I'm still in the portion where they're fighting the Chroma Conclave, which are 4 colored dragons. And the new season of the show came out on Amazon. And for 3 days in a row, I've been trying to check for the new episodes because 3 of them dropped on Thursday and then there's been nothing since. And it's because my little eyeballs have missed that every time I click on it, it says at the top, new episode every Thursday. It says it. And I don't know how I keep missing it. But it's just so much funnier to know that I've just been sitting there like, what's going on? Is our internet broken? Are they not reading the account information? Blah, blah, blah. And it's actually just not released yet because they're doing a weekly release. Which, hey, good on all of these platforms for deciding to just go back to the days of old for releasing content once a week. I think it's kind of funny. But I missed it entirely. And I laughed at myself about it because I was like, well, that makes so much sense. How was I missing this so hard? It makes... I think it's because I'm overworked. But, oh wow, this list is just not loading. I really want to see this list. It spans a decade. And it's got like little neat divided sections. And none of them are loading. Not one. I would just love to see one additional year besides 2020. I'm clicking every year and nothing's working. Oh my god. What? Why? Whatever. Alright. My phone has failed me today for some reason. I don't know why. And I'm just going to yell at it later in upset. But I think everyone understood the gist of game jams. I've seen some for theater where you're supposed to write and put on like a play. Usually like 10 minutes. It's like usually really short. I've seen those occur. They do it for everything, and it's a lot of fun. You really get to see and like the stretch of creativity that comes forth with such little time. And I believe game jams also have things like specifics that they're like you have to incorporate in some fashion, whether it's a character thing or a certain mechanic. You know, maybe your character only has the ability to use one arm. Because I think Endoparasitic also came out of a game jam or something similar. And the whole thing with that is that the character's only got one arm, so that makes it a lot harder to do things. You know, you're forced to do inventory management. He's got no other limbs except the one arm. He's got his head. So, you know, he has to crawl around, so you can't have a weapon in your hand and crawl. Things like that. Like, you get to really see the genius of thought break through in those moments. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to. I'm still doing my best to get around to writing my own stuff, especially because I actually have to write things for a class this semester. I took a writing class, like a film writing, a script writing, playwriting class. And I'm supposed to write a one-page one that's due this Tuesday. I haven't had the chance to because I've been too busy working the 48-hour and then being busy with everything else that I've been doing. And that's fun. That's exciting. I look forward to just making all that nonsense. I'm supposed to do some projects for another class. So this one's going to be a little more project heavy this semester. A little more project heavy, a little more writing heavy. I've got a couple of classes that are filled to the brim with just writing as their assignments, which is perfectly fine. You know, as long as I am aware of the writing, I know what I can do. It's just when I'm caught off guard, I'm garbage as a writer. But yeah. Oh my god, I spoke on that for 17 minutes. I'm so sorry. My brain is just out of it, if you couldn't tell. If you could not tell. I'm really excited to get back on set. Because I enjoy being on set. I enjoy filming. I think I'm too serious for some people. But that's fine. You need to have a serious person. Not everyone can be comical. And I'm funny when I need to be. Alright? I'm funny where it matters. And that's what matters. What's in the list? There are things on this list that haven't been touched. There are things on this list that I feel like I've been ignoring. People don't give me as many things to talk about, and it's kind of sad. You know, that's why you often get a lot of the repeats. Well, not repeats. I don't repeat unless it's specific. I will be in 2 weeks, I think, maybe doing the talk about the Bass Pro Pyramid with worker of the Bass Pro Pyramid, Luke Ritchie. But I'm not doing it yet. What my brain meant was because I often do things like I talk about films, you know, and stuff. Like I had to watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I got to watch that too, and those are all fantastic films. But Puss in Boots: The Last Wish has no right to be as good as it is, and is also a thing I've noticed is showing that diverse animation can both still exist and do well, and I think that that's fantastic. For those that don't know, diverse animation just means that within a particular studio, not every project looks exactly the same. The most recent examples out of DreamWorks have been Bad Guys and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Whereas in comparison to a company like Disney, you know, Disney has it all. They could do so much, but so much of their more recent animation has all been in the same exact style. And they've been kind of pushing Pixar into that same realm too. Like, a lot of things are starting to just look the same. And thus they're kind of losing out on that variety and that fun. Because, and this sounds mean, but this is my statement as someone who creates films, that if everything starts to look the same, then it really requires that every other facet of the film be pushed to 1,000 in order to compensate for that not being something that can hold the attention of the people. That's my take. Those are my thoughts on it. Because personally, I think that if the animation style looks the same across the board, then you can't rely on it to hold the attention of like a child or anyone for that matter. But if animation looks differently, like different from movie to movie, then you can get people to come in and be like, wow, this animation is different. And then they can pay attention to the story, and then they can pay attention to the characters, all in this equal facet. Whereas if everything looks the same, like it has been in these more recent Disney films, people start to realize that some of the stories just aren't it. They start to realize that like so much of it is just it's a little bland. Strange Worlds came out and then it disappeared, and I can't even tell you what the premise of Strange Worlds is besides my assumption based on the title. And it looks just like every movie before it. Like all these characters are getting designed the same. You know, there's always one character that's like tall, thin, with like a funny nose. There's usually one that's like short and stout, and like they've always got a heart of gold for some reason. And then there's like the main character, and for some reason there's always an old woman now, and they all just are drawn the same. They've just been given new hair, and I don't know what that's about, Disney. But you know, you got to diversify. You know, people didn't like Strange World, and I think that's in part because no one knows what it was about. None of those ads really explain what it was. Like it felt like every ad I saw was just telling you that it's a strange world out there, and it was set up like it was an old school sci-fi film, which sounds like a cool premise, but man, does it lose the coolness when it's just in that weird new 3D animation Disney style, you know? And it's funny because like I watched Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and I looked at it and I was like, this is that same style that they did for certain things in the Spider-Verse movie, because obviously I know that the main base animation was done with that little dot style, like it was a comic book, and it's not like that in Puss in Boots. Like it's clearly different, but for things like action sequences and like movement, it's significantly more akin to how that stuff was in the Spider-Verse movie. And it's gorgeous to look at. It's stunning. It's got great characters, and it's a fun time, like for both kids and adults. Like it's great, and we're just not getting that much anymore. It's a little sad, but I guess it is what it is. You know, I'll just throw my thoughts out there on it. It came to mind because I got to look at that list for a second. Another thing that's on this list that is just so upsetting occurred recently. Men who go into the men's bathroom and use a urinal. Wash your hands. Wash them. I don't understand what world you're living in where you don't want to wash your hands after touching your wiener. I don't care how clean you think it is. It sits in your pants all day and gets, all it does is exist within friction and heat and containment and gets sweaty. And while you don't know it's getting sweaty because it's fully covered in a piece of clothing that probably just absorbs it, it's sweaty. It's gross. What are you about to go touch again after touching it? You're going to go touch a doorknob? That's gross. You're going to go shake someone's hand? That's even worse. You're going to go eat a sandwich? You're going to taste yourself, and it's going to be gross. Don't lick your fingers. Man, I've seen way too many people recently go into a bathroom, use a urinal, and then just walk out. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't get how people just walk away. Wash your hands. It's not that hard. Everyone knows how to do it. What are you saving? What time are you saving by not washing your hands? How magically clean do you think you are? Like, unless you're a robot who can just initiate a self-sanitizing mode and clean everything instantaneously, you need to go wash your hands. I watched a human being walk into the restroom after me, right? I used the restroom. I finished. I washed my hands. I stand there and I look at this guy. Because in my soul, I was like, he's going to come wash his hands, right? He knows I can see him, right? And he just flushes the urinal and he walks out. And I was like, what? Why? Why would you do that? Wash your hands. God. And like I've seen it multiple times. I saw it in my drive up. I saw it in my travels. I've seen it down in Florida. I've seen it up in Illinois. I've seen it everywhere. Like there are people that will just go in, use a urinal, and leave, and just act like it's normal. And it's upsetting in a place of education, because, especially because in that space where this incident occurred, where where that made me talk about it, it was a library, and I was like, you better not go touch a single book in this library after doing that, because I will throw you. But it's so much grosser when you're down in like, when you're like traveling and you're stopping in like a gas station or something, because there's nothing more upsetting than the idea that someone went into a bathroom, used a urinal, right, flushed it, didn't wash their hands, and then they decided, oh, let me just go peruse some snacks, some chips, and they're just there like, because you've seen people do it when they're traveling. They'll like grab a bag of something, they'll look at it, be like, do I want this? And they'll put it back, and they'll do that like 10 times. And you don't want that guy to have not washed his hands. Okay? You gotta wash your hands. It's not reserved for only when you poop. Okay? You do that when you pee. I don't know what ladies do. I'm not a lady. But I would hope they all wash their hands when they pee too, because they have a more extensive set of maneuvers that they've got to do when they're done peeing. But that guy really got me. And now that I've had to talk about him again, he's going to sit in the back of my head while I go be a part of this film project. On a closing note, for those that watch the other channel, as well as this one who watched The Soloist, you know that there was no game video today. Instead, there was an announcement, because we're working on some stuff with Jade, and I'm really excited about it, but I can't give any more detail. You know, it's just the testing phase portion. So you know, keep your eyes out for that. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, you know, you go check out everything else that's in there. It's crazy to think about how many videos I've made and how that's about to just drastically cut down. I'll probably have to also rework the past Twitch streams playlist, because I realized putting them all into one playlist is going to create way too many videos now. But yeah, I'm just going to leave you off with that. So thank you guys so much for listening to What a Thought. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like and comment down below. Tell me the things you're open to hear me talk about, because I'd love to talk about some more things that are brought up in the comments. I don't get as many comments on these videos, and sometimes, I will admit, sometimes the comments come in and it does not notify me, and then I don't see it until I go to upload the next, like, What a Thought or What a Book. But I do keep an eye out for them. I try my best to. But thank you guys again. I've been Matthew Allen. This has been What a Thought. Check out all that stuff in the Linktree link that's down in the description, and I'll see all of you for What a Book next week.